Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out how Liverpool became embroiled in the U.S. Civil War.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video about the American Civil War. That's right, 1860 to 1865. But I'm going to be doing it through the eyes of Liverpool, a large city in the north of England, several thousand miles away from the continental United States where it took place. Now you might be asking, how the hell are you going to do that? Well,
that's exactly what I was asking. Y'all be sure to go to Be Here Now and like and subscribe. He's a very kind man.
As it turns out, there's quite a lot of links between Liverpool and the US Civil War. And I'm going to be looking at those links now, and they're absolutely fascinating. So, as one of the world's biggest and busiest port cities of the 19th century, Liverpool's history is understandably outward facing. It had all these thousands of ships coming in from all over the world every year, bringing different cultures and people and products. Now you have to remember that Liverpool was the major port on the west coast of Britain as well, so it served the industrial hothouse of Lancashire, where all this cotton was being turned into textiles and all these other products were being made in these mills all across the county and across the northwest of England, and they were being exported through Liverpool. It was the gateway to the world from Lancashire and Cheshire and places like that. But also a lot of raw goods were coming in to the port of Liverpool, particularly cotton, which was coming from places like India and the United States. Now when you consider that, it's not surprising that the history of the United States would have such close ties to somewhere like Liverpool.
Cotton, y'all.
So for example, one of the founding fathers, a signer of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, Robert Morris, was born in Liverpool. At the age of 13, he travelled across the seas and became a key revolutionary figure in the movement for independence at a later age.
I'm sorry. I was distracted by the beautiful rendition of the national anthem, aka a British drinking song. I just need to rewind it. Don't listen to the beautiful music, JJ. Listen to the words.
The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution,
Robert
Morris was born in Liverpool.
Okay.
At the age of 13, he travelled across the seas and became a key revolutionary figure in the movement for independence at a later age.
13.
One of the most valuable trades in which Liverpool played a key role was in the slavery of Africans. But that's a much bigger topic that I'll save for another video. But let's just say that the transatlantic slave trade relied heavily on Liverpool shipping. And since most of those slaves were going to the United States, the foundation for the economic ties were firmly in place for a long, long time.
But it's important to mention this.
Damn it. I was distracted by the slave boat image. I just want to stop and read this a little bit. Plan of lower deck with the stowage of 292 slaves, 130 of them being stowed under the shelves. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have seen this before. It's just like hard to imagine packing people in there and just making them lay down like product. Okay.
Were firmly in place for a long, long time.
But it's important to mention this at the start of the video because it kind of informs everything else we're just about to talk about.
Okay.
The US Congress outlawed the importation of slaves in 1808, but not slavery itself. Slavery was a cheap and effective way of building the American economy, especially for the other trade with which Liverpool was to play a key role, cotton. Mills in the northwest of England were hungry for cotton, and the US cotton growing industry was booming. Around 500,000 bales of cotton were imported through Liverpool at the peak of the trade.
Wow, I should have known cotton, y'all. The first ever US
Now, so strong was the relationship with Liverpool that the first ever US consulate was placed here, right here on Paradise Street, virtually at dockside. Opened in 1790, it was a
Show me on the map. Paradise Street. Is it still there? Liverpool. Excuse me. Can I find it like this? Very close, very close. Show me the image again. Okay. Canning Place. Is it right here? Oh, maybe over here. It's gotta still be there, y'all. It's gotta still be there. So it's probably over here somewhere. Canning impaired. Okay, I'm wasting too much time looking for it. That was 1790, y'all. Wow.
Virtually at dockside. Opened in 1790, it was a tentative but symbolic move by the United States to draw closer ties with Britain. Now remember, this is only 7 years after the British had lost the American War of Independence. So there's still a lot of bitterness in the air.
Yeah.
And this is also probably why they decided to open the first consulate in Liverpool rather than London. London was good for diplomacy, which would come in time, whereas Liverpool was an immediate economic tether which couldn't afford to be lost.
Okay.
You can tell where the consulate used to be because this bright gold bald eagle stands in contrast to Liverpool's famous liver birds.
What is it now? Cote. Hang on. We're gonna find it, y'all. We're gonna find it. Cote, Liverpool. Show me on a map. God dang it. Oh, we were close, y'all. We were so close. Okay, yeah. Show me on the street. Hey, there's an American eagle in Liverpool. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. That's so awesome. Wow. Y'all, it's nice when people don't hate America. It feels really good. I'm actually tearing up. This is such a dumb reason, but it makes me feel good.
Historians aren't entirely sure that this particular eagle is original to the 1790 building, which would have been a welcoming sight for American sailors after a long sea voyage. By the late 1850s, the future direction of the United States as a country as a
I hate these tears out of my eyes. What a wimp, huh? Like emotional.
project was becoming more and more under scrutiny by its own thinkers, politicians, and philosophers. You see, as a young nation, the US was full of individuals with a lot of different ideas. Idealists, religious fundamentalists, libertarians, communal living, and so on. And there were far fewer limits on what could be achieved than back in the old world.
But beyond that, there's this
Wild
vast
West.
continent of land beyond the frontier of the established states, and many Americans began to believe that it was their manifest destiny to occupy all of this land.
Right.
Now, the fact that there were already people living there in tribes and nations without fixed borders and flags just didn't seem to matter. Those of European descent would occupy all of that land from sea to shining sea.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do this as one nation, what kind of nation was that going to be? Many politicians and activists in the northern states began to say things like, hey, we don't think we should carry on doing this slavery thing. It seems like a bit of an abomination. But down in the southern states, where the climate was perfect for growing all of that cotton, many of them were just like, well, tough. We're making money. We're making a lot of money. And we have all these mansions in the middle of these vast plantations. How are we supposed to stay super rich if we can't exploit the labour of all these black people? Now, this and many other reasons to do with sovereignty and state control and resources led eventually to war in 1860. The US had turned in against itself. This was a fight for the soul of the nation.
Okay, yeah. I should have known we're gonna get into this stuff, y'all. I feel like everything to say about it has already been said. You know, slavery sucks. 2, Liverpool and the Confederates. What? Liverpool was on the Confederate side. Maybe. Y'all?
On April 12, 1861, the breakaway Confederacy sent troops into South Carolina to take Fort Sumter.
Right.
At 4:30 a.m., the first cannon shot was fired at the fort, and a war had officially begun. And the cannon that fired the shot was supposedly made, yes, you guessed it, in Liverpool. Here at a foundry on Lydia Ann Street. Now, as this grisly and bloody
Show me. Lydia Ann Street. Are they making cannons there now? I don't think so. Okay, good. We don't need any more cannons.
war unfolded, the Confederate Army got off to a good start with crucial victories over Union forces. That early momentum was most certainly helped in part by people stationed here, thousands of miles away in Liverpool.
Now, one of the key strategic moves by the Union Army was to blockade the southern states at sea, preventing supplies from reaching them and also preventing goods from leaving. Now, this was a clever strategy, but it was also quite risky. You see, British industry relied heavily on trade with those southern states, especially all of that cotton.
Yeah.
So Abraham Lincoln was risking opening old wounds with the old country by doing so.
Officially, Britain took a neutral posture, deciding not to assist either side overtly and not recognising the Confederacy.
Officially.
But wealthy traders in Liverpool, like cotton importer Fraser Trenholm, decided they would help get around the blockade.
Oh, they want that money.
An unofficial Confederacy embassy was held here at 10 Rumford Place. And for almost the entirety of the war, Liverpool was the Confederacy's unofficial naval base.
Money makes people do evil stuff, doesn't it? I wish there was a better way. Confederacy's unofficial naval base. What? In Liverpool?
An unofficial Confederacy embassy.
10 Rumford Place. Y'all, this is not what I expected. I expected, I know slavery was outlawed first in Britain, and I just figured they would be on the Union side, the anti-slavery side. But these guys are trying to get that money. Is that building still? That can't be the same building. No, that can't be the same building. Right? That's the same. Look at that. Wow. What a tangled web we weave.
Embassy was held here at 10 Rumford Place. And for almost the entirety of the war, Liverpool was the Confederacy's unofficial naval base.
Wow.
Liverpool itself provided ships, armaments, provisions, and even men to help out.
Yeah.
42 blockade runners were built on the River Mersey for the Confederacy, including the SS Banshee, the first steel-hulled ship to cross the Atlantic.
Wow.
Although it must be pointed out, the city also provided ships for the Northern Union.
Okay.
One ship built for the South was the CSS Alabama, which was built by Laird on the Mersey under the guise of a merchant ship, the SS Enrico.
Oh.
However, she was actually heavily reinforced with armour and guns and became the most successful naval vessel in history in terms of enemy boats sunk.
That's brilliant. So they made this battleship look like a merchant ship. That's brilliant strategy, y'all. Yeah, I wouldn't think people back then being so smart, but they were. Even if it was in the name of evil.
Claiming a total of 55.
Wow.
Now by now, Liverpool was so entangled with the Confederacy that back at the US consulate on Paradise Street, Consul Thomas Haynes Dudley spent a great deal of his time just preventing ships from breaking the blockade. He also established a spy network within the city, which something was close to 100 men.
What?
All to keep close tabs on what Confederate sympathisers were doing in Liverpool.
What? Y'all had no idea Britain was so involved in the Civil War. Wow. I'm flabbergasted. It does also feel like slavery is America's original sin. And I feel like this, you're kind of sharing in that sin with us a little bit. You're kind of taking some of the blame, and I appreciate that. Not that I blame you, but, as an American, that's like a really sad part of our history. Shameful,
So entangled was Liverpool with the Southern cause that in the bloated Civil War tale Gone with the Wind, when plantation heiress Scarlett O'Hara asked blockade runner Rhett Butler for some cash, his often overlooked reply is this.
Oh, Red, won't you please give me the money?
I couldn't give you the money if I wanted to. My funds are in Liverpool, not in Atlanta. If I tried drawing a draft, the Yankees would be on me like a duck on a June bug.
What? How did I miss that? I've seen Gone with the Wind twice. It's actually pretty good. I mean, it might trigger modern audiences, but it's a well-made movie for the time. Rhett Butler was a blockade runner? I'm amazed. Be here now. Way to go.
Okay, so let's step back for a second and talk about the rest of the north of England, where all of that cotton was unable to suddenly reach. Real hunger for cotton had led to actual human hunger across the region.
How?
Up to 500,000 people involved in spinning and weaving in the northwest of England were slowly starving to death.
Oh my God.
Still, there was great sympathy for the Union position. Famously, at a public gathering in Manchester's Free Trade Hall, workers vowed to support the embargo of American cotton, an act that inspired Abraham Lincoln to write a letter praising the working people of Manchester.
All right.
Although that isn't to say that one city was doing good and one city was doing bad, this isn't a Liverpool versus Manchester thing.
Kind
Manchester
made
was
it
also
that.
a city built off slavery, like everywhere else industrial at the time. Ordinary working people had great sympathy for ending slavery, especially in Britain, where it was outlawed. It's just that a handful of very wealthy Liverpool merchants had a dog in the fight, a big dog, and they were going to drag the rest of the city down with them, even when the tide of war changed direction.
On April 14th, 1865, just 5 days after the surrender of the Confederate Army and the effective end of the American Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Perhaps the single most shocking moment in American 19th century history, the death of Lincoln was a cold and sobering moment that bookended a very turbulent, bloody and divisive time in the country.
Now, you probably already know that Lincoln was shot in the back of the head while attending Ford's Theatre in Washington, D.C. with his wife to watch a performance of Our American Cousin. You probably already know that man who did it was a stage actor named John Wilkes Booth.
I mean, I know that. That's common info in America, but British people know that? I'm impressed. Wow.
Like many Americans at the time, including Lincoln himself, John Wilkes Booth had English ancestry. And it's often erroneously claimed that his father, Junius Brutus Booth, came from Liverpool.
He was Liverpoolian, y'all.
Now, this sadly isn't the case. Junius Brutus was born in London, and after failing to hold down a proper job, he found a love for acting.
Yeah. If you can't find work, just be an actor. I mean, that's good advice.
I mean, with a name like Junius Brutus, what else was he destined to
It's
do?
a good name.
After making a name for himself as a prominent Shakespearean actor, Booth came to Liverpool for a stint at the Theatre Royal,
Okay.
before eloping with a flower girl by the name of Mary Ann Holmes, abandoning his wife and child, and running off to live in Maryland.
The what theater? The what theater? Theatre Royale. Theatre Royal. Theatre. Show me on a map. Where's that? Oh, that's in Newcastle. Might be a different name now. I mean, here's a theater. Liverpool Empire? I don't know.
Liverpool for a stint at the Theatre Royal, before eloping with a flower girl by the name of Mary Ann Holmes, abandoning his wife and child, and running off to live in Maryland. In the US, Booth became a national celebrity, performing in his bombastic Shakespearean style in theatres all across the Union. And he also blazed a trail for celebrities going off the rails,
Really?
battling serious alcoholism that made him aggressive and violent, even on stage.
On one occasion, while playing Othello, he genuinely tried to suffocate the actress playing Desdemona and had to be restrained by fellow actors. And oh yeah,
That sounds violent, but I mean, as an actor myself, I have to say that's good acting. You know, I subscribe to the Sanford Meisner definition of acting, which is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So if you have to suffocate your scene partner, you really try to suffocate your scene partner. That's the only way to get a truthful, natural performance, really. He was doing it. He was just being a good actor, I think.
he had a son called John Wilkes who shot the president. So a bit of a tenuous link to Liverpool, you might say. Well, in fact, the assassination of Lincoln does have another thread to this fair city. One of John Wilkes Booth's co-conspirators, a man called John Surratt, fled the country following the assassination and landed in Liverpool in September that same year. He actually lodged at the Holy Cross Catholic Church on Great Crossall Street for a while before moving on and travelling.
Cross the what? The what? Holy Cross Catholic Church. Shimmer. Holy Cross Catholic. Catholic Church. Primary school? Oh, okay. This is all downtown.
Lodged at the Holy Cross Catholic Church on Great Crossall Street for a while before moving on and travelling across Europe. Eventually he joined an infantry battalion serving the Papal States in what is today Italy, before being recognised by an old friend, arrested and sent back to the US.
Some friend? The U.S. Civil War ends officially in what?
On the 6th of November 1865, the last active Confederate force, the CSS Shenandoah, entered the Mersey. It had been busy all this time in the North Pacific, attacking Union whaling ships, and had only just heard that the war had finished.
It sailed for 3 months halfway around the world to avoid surrendering to the Union Army.
Oh, wow.
And when it arrived in Liverpool, of course, it was no longer flying the flag. As it dropped anchor on the river, however, the Liverpool pilot ship refused to take them into port unless they were flying a flag, to show who they were.
Oh.
So for one last time, the Confederate flag was raised by an armed force.
You're like,
And then the Shenandoah was led to dock somewhere around Toxteth. And then for one last time, the flag was lowered.
Did they get in trouble?
I've actually got a copy of the flag right here.
Oh,
I think the
what?
colours have run a bit.
To close off this chapter, the captain of the Shenandoah had one more thing to do, and that was to make his surrender official. Here at Liverpool Town Hall, Captain Waddell surrendered to the Lord Mayor, and the US Civil War was now officially over.
Oh my gosh. Liverpool. We did it, y'all.
But don't be defensive if you're from Liverpool and you think this video is a massive criticism. It's not.
No.
I think the real lesson here is beware the rich and powerful who lead the rest of us into very dark places for their own personal gain. And it's also worth noting that Liverpool today, like Bristol, is trying to own its slavery links. It's got this wonderful museum of slavery at the Albert Docks, and it's also trying to stimulate conversations about how to approach this period in its history. It's been very honest about that.
Good.
So there you go. Hope you liked the video. Thanks very much for
did.
watching. Hit the like, the subscribe, the other button, the other buttons. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Now, as one of the world's biggest, I don't know what happened then. Slow down. Now, as one of the world's biggest and busiest port cities, opened in 1790, it was a tentative yet symbolic move. Why can't I say move? But on top of that, there was also this vast continent beyond the frontier of the established states.
It's okay to misspeak, right? I do it all the time. That was fascinating. I had no idea. Liverpool was so enmeshed with the Civil War. All about that money, y'all. They just wanted that money. They didn't want slaves, but they wanted that money. Get that money. Y'all be sure to go to Be Here Now and like and subscribe. Liverpool's all tied up into the Civil War stuff. That's amazing. The ships, John Wilkes Booth's dad, the cotton. It's like things were just going back and forth across the Atlantic constantly. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.